Good morning. Welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder. This is BRN AM for Tuesday, April 6th, 2021. And our top story today, audiences continue to embrace streaming. Joining me now to discuss this and a lot more is Will Gurman. He's Vice President of Global Partnerships for Pluto TV. Will, great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Of course. Thanks so much for having me, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Pluto. I know, and I'm going to give a shout out to my mom. My mom watches Pluto on a regular basis. And, you know, our show here on the Broadcast Retirement Network is not just about saving and planning for your future financially. It's about all the things that we use both in retirement and pre-retirement, one of those things being streaming. But I wanted to start with who is Pluto TV? For those members of our audience that maybe aren't using OTT, aren't streaming, who exactly is Pluto TV?
Well, thanks again so much for having me, and great to hear that you and your mom are fans of Pluto. We really aim to cover a broad audience. So Pluto TV is the leading free streaming TV service. We deliver hundreds of live and original channels and thousands of on-demand movies in partnership with major TV networks, movie studios, and publishers. Pluto was founded back in 2014, really with a mission to entertain the planet and, resolving the paradox of choice, right? Consumers have so many different options and so many different ways they can consume media. And, our founder, Tom Ryan, came up with the idea of, really aggregating short form content to reproduce the linear format that is very familiar to you and I. But it, was really based on three contrarian principles here: that linear would win out in a time when on-demand was really growing, that consumers would be open to advertising at a time when everything was moving towards subscription, and that the business should move towards free at a time when, again, everything was moving towards subscription.
And Will, how do we gain access to Pluto? Is it available on your phone? Is it available on your desktop? Is it available on those little streaming boxes that we connect to our TVs?
Yeah, absolutely. So, really one of the true benefits of Pluto is it's so easy to use. You don't need a password. You don't need a credit card. You just drop in. And we work very closely with over 30 different distribution partners to make sure that Pluto is accessible everywhere, whether it's a mobile phone, a connected television device, web, you name it. Really, across any devices, Pluto is incredibly accessible and easy to find and easy to use.
Well, that's important if you want to have success as an organization and you want to reach as many people. Well, let's talk about consumption, because you mentioned the company was founded back in 2014, and there has been a shift, I would say, and you're the expert here, in how people consume information, how they consume entertainment, how they consume news, how they sit back and relax. What has that shift been like?
Yeah, well, really what we're seeing is just choices galore, right? You have so many opportunities and places in which you can gather your information and consume media, whether, again, it's on your phone, whether you're on a news site, whether you're on television. And, really we see Pluto as complementary and not competitive in this streaming space. The average household will have their own subscriptions to different platforms, whether it's cable or SVOD platforms. But, we see ourselves as a free alternative that packages well with users' media diet, whether they want news or entertainment and movies and television shows.
Yeah, and we use the term OTT, or over the top, and there has been a tremendous amount of growth. I can think, lots of different brands that are moving in that direction, where over the top, you don't necessarily have to have cable. You can have cable. There's no one saying you don't have to have cable, but all you need is that internet connection, Will, or the ability to use a 4G or 5G network, and boom, you have access to hundreds or thousands of hours of content that's free. All you have to do is watch a commercial or two or three while you watch.
Exactly. And, I think, speaking to the broader picture of Pluto being part of the Viacom CBS ecosystem, as again, I mentioned, what has been so incredible of Pluto being within the Viacom CBS ecosystem is having the global footprint of Viacom CBS combined with, really the, the expertise in advertising and marketing and the deep library of content and distribution. But as part of that, being within the, ultimate strategy of Viacom CBS that, as you're well aware, has had decades of strength in the cable world, as well as now emerging strength in the SVOD space with Paramount Plus. And, we really see Pluto TV as complementary and part of that ecosystem where it can stand as a standalone business and offering for those who want to consume their media in the free space. But also, we're really working very closely with our peers across both Paramount Plus as well as the linear networks to serve as a funnel into content and into those different segments of audiences, whether that's our Paramount Plus Picks channel on Pluto TV, where we're promoting some of the best content that's available on Paramount Plus, or other stunts we do throughout the year where we're working with our partners at the linear cable channels to really promote and stunt different channels. So, there's really something for everyone, and so many different ways to consume. And we feel that we are just, as Pluto, part of that ecosystem of options.
And you mentioned some of the topics. I mean, some of the content. My wife and I were sitting watching Pluto and recently, and they had reruns of The Love Boat. And I got to tell you, it took me back to when I was a younger boy, 12, 14, 15 years old, and it was nice to see Captain Stubing. But in all seriousness, there's so much there. I mean, you've got news, you've got movies, and then you can look back at some of the best shows of the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, I mean, what you find is, again, I think the power of Pluto is this idea of curation, and I'll get to that in a bit, as well as, again, this idea of ease of access, right? You find yourself just dropping into shows or content that you might not have actively selected if you were spending minutes and minutes going through the guide, and suddenly you're in an episode of something that's familiar, an episode of Three's Company that you hadn't seen for years, and suddenly you find yourself watching for 3-4 hours, and you're deeply engrossed in the show. So to that extent, we have a very significant team of I think it's over 24 programmers and channel editors that are uniquely curating these channels for specific audiences. And really they're adding this human touch and this human element to these channels. While, of course, like many companies, we dig deep into our data and use our analytics to support our programming, we really rely on our programmers and their, and their expertise. For example, we have a former MMA fighter curating our fighting and wrestling channels. We have a stand-up comedian doing our comedy. We have a movie buff, programming our film channel. So we really lean in on, human curation.
And that's got to really make for some interesting cocktail hours, I guess, when we get back to COVID. Well, Will, I want to take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll talk to Will about the future. What does the future look like with streaming and the programs that are on Pluto and other platforms? You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms? Especially for the smaller businesses. I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans, and we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
Are you stuck with a low credit score? A credit report and score that's causing you to be denied credit or pay higher interest rates than others for the same things? Then do what Terrence did and call Credit Repaired for your free credit evaluation to help restore your credit.
I started thinking about buying a new house, and my score wasn't where I needed it to be. I called and spoke with one of the representatives, and we just had a good conversation, and I liked what he was saying.
Just one call for his free credit evaluation was all it took to start back on the track to repairing his credit.
I'm seeing the deletions and I'm getting the report, so I know something's being done. It does make a difference to me.
All it takes is one call to get started.
Credit Repair has given me a second chance to have a better credit score.
Don't let a low credit score hold you back another day. Do what Terrence did and make the call for your free credit evaluation.
Call 800-819-4152. That's 800-819-4152. Again, 800-819-4152.
Welcome back. We're talking to Will Gurman of Pluto TV. Will, thanks so much for staying with us this morning.
Of course.
Yeah, this is an absolutely fascinating topic. And what's, I think, fascinating beyond just the ability to have all this content is the underlying technology that is being used that, maybe 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, we were just kind of really incorporating the internet into our day-to-day lives and our business practices. It's amazing how far organizations like Pluto have come with leveraging this amazing technology. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, I think what's been great about the technology is really it's continued to help us really accelerate our business, across all areas, across content acquisition, being able to, work with, over 400 global partners and helping them find new ways to monetize content that they previously hadn't before. Working broadly with our distribution partnerships, not just in the U.S. but globally. What technology has allowed us to do is really accelerate our global expansion and increase our international footprint. We are now launched and available in Latin America. At the end of last year, we launched in Spain and Brazil. At the beginning of this year, we launched in France, and we have plans to launch in Italy. So, really that technology has, as well as the infrastructure we've built here at Pluto, has allowed us to scale in a tremendous way and really bring Pluto to the world.
And that's important. We've got 5G technology now live, and I would imagine that's going to speed things up in terms of delivery and packet delivery. What does the future look like? Where are we all headed in terms of streaming? Will there be many other streaming providers? Will will Pluto get to several thousand channels, 10,000 channels? How are you thinking about that long-term strategy?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think what it's clear to say is that the AVOD market, or fast channels, which is the industry term that's been coined to describe our type of digital linear delivery, is a proven business model. And you can see not just us but among our competitors are growing and expanding in the space. And it's really making content partners look at Pluto as part of its long-term distribution strategy, where in the early days of Pluto, it was more experimental. It was, how do we make money off these titles that are sitting in the library and collecting dust, and figure out how to monetize that. And now we're part of the conversations from the beginning in terms of looking at free and looking at free delivery as part of the global distribution strategy for movie and television companies.
And Will, one of the things that we've dealt with on this network is maybe internet access. And there are some parts still in the United States that maybe don't have the greatest internet access. I'm thinking about rural parts of the country. But there are also parts of the world that maybe have some limited access. Do you think that it could be a limiting factor? And do you see that changing over time with advances in technology, whether it's newer types of cell towers that allow you to broadcast into maybe more, I don't want to say desolate because I don't mean it in a derogatory way, but areas that don't typically have the ability to cover, to get internet and whatnot?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, I think that is solved through kind of the depth and the level of our partnerships with our technology and distribution, partners, which is only amplified now, being part of Viacom CBS to really have that strength and connection in that, again, we're delivering multiple products as a corporation across these platforms. And, given the coverage and the connection we have with these partners, we're constantly iterating, we're constantly developing and engineering and modifying and upgrading our products to meet the growing changes of these platforms, as well as adapting to ensure we're able to deliver a great experience to the user wherever you are, in a rural area, an urban city, or a place that's somewhat remote. So we're constantly working on our technology.
People, when we eventually land on Mars or the moon, we're going to need more. We're going to need Pluto TV and some of these streaming services to keep our astronauts connected. So I would imagine that you all are going to be working with your distribution partners to solve that issue. Will, data, I would think, and just listen to you talk, really is an important part of what you do. Being able to understand preferences, because my preferences are going to be different than my mother's. She may want to watch Golden Girls. I may want to watch, Three's Company, right? And I would imagine that there's a lot of data that you are able to sift through, and that will only grow in the future. So you'll know that people within my demo, the mid 40s to 50s range, like X, and be able to tailor programming and tailor ads and push ads to those that things that we really want to consume.
Yeah, I think our programming will always be, a mix of art and science. We have very instantaneous understanding of viewership and behavior, but we also know that, the television business and the linear television business was built over decades and decades on, curation and tastes and preferences. And so, as we improve our product features, we'll be able to continue and iterate more unique experiences for each individual user. But I think, we'll continue to lean in on, our ability to curate and program specifically, based on, again, tastes and preferences of our in-house our in-house expert programmers.
Yeah, that's incredible that you have an MMA fighter, a stand-up comedian, and others who actually have experience in that field. Well, we're going to leave it there. It's amazing technology, amazing service. I encourage people to check it out. Will Gurman, pleasure talking with you, and look forward to having you back on the program again very soon.
Of course. Thanks again thanks for having me.
Thanks, Will. Great to see you. Thanks for sharing your perspective. And that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest? Someone you think we should talk to? Then drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the information in retirement markets, technology, personal finance, so much more, all in one place, check out today's edition of our newsletter, The Morning Pulse, and of course, our website. We're back again tomorrow. So until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
Are you being audited and do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate your tax bill and reduce your stress. The IRS can freeze your assets and seize your bank accounts, but you can stop these IRS actions. The Tax Doctor will work with you using our years of experience to represent your case to help you get the best resolution under the IRS guidelines. Help is here to deal with the IRS to reduce your stress. We've handled thousands of cases, so we know what we're doing. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a tax doctor now for a tax emergency analysis.
Call 800-224-6439.